Thanks for taking time again to prepare and think with me about the session for this week, Keeping Up with God's Generosity, session 16, and the last of this unit that we'll be able to spend together. I'm Lana Miller, and I work for Everence as a stewardship consultant. I'm really excited about the lesson today because it's directly connected to the work that I do each day. And I want to encourage you to talk with an Everence stewardship consultant in your region. We are equipped with many tools and resources to assist you in thinking about giving, generosity, and stewardship. So, if in any of these lessons on stewardship, you've started asking some questions, or maybe they've left you wanting more conversation, please contact us and let us help you. It's our mission to serve congregations in this way. I'd also like to say a word about the racial wealth gap learning simulation that's mentioned in this lesson. If you haven't tried doing a simulation, I would really encourage you to try this. And the resource from Bread for the World, as I've looked at it, is very well done. Each time I do a simulation like this, I learn a lot. So consider how you might incorporate this simulation in your class. There's some different recommendations for how you might do this. In this lesson, the purpose is to think about ways to be more generous within a world of inequity, and to consider how we might redistribute our social and economic power to better reflect God's kingdom. Honestly, I think that if you do the simulation, you could take 2 weeks on this lesson. The simulation 1 week, and then perhaps following up with some of the things that I'll share about now. Just something for you to consider. So if I were doing this lesson not using the simulation or after using the simulation, I would follow Ugo's suggestion on page 75 to write some quick responses, initial thoughts and reactions to the words that are also part of the 2 Corinthians passage. And then follow his questions on page 75 and move to 76, where the 2 Corinthians passage is read and more questions asked. I'd then move to the Connect section and follow Ugo's suggestions and questions in 77, moving to Joanne's questions on 78 and 79. It sounds like I'm giving you a lot of pages, but really, a lot of what they've said here is very good. There are many ways you can take this lesson, so allow your group to help direct you with their comments and their answers to their questions, and even moving into other spaces that you would find beneficial to explore together. A couple things I think are really interesting and profound, especially connected to my work, is when Joanne explores giving cheerfully. I also think about the number of studies that connect gratitude to generosity. And I've wondered if we could foster more or a spirit of gratitude and thankfulness, if it would actually increase our giving. Would we be more willing to give sacrificially if we recognized all of the things that we have to be grateful for? There are many dynamics of giving to be explored from this passage, so dig into the scripture and the questions and the commentary. Allow the commentary Joanne writes to carry your conversation. As you think about and explore some of these questions and the direction of the session, I did want to give you a few things to consider. Especially if you don't do the simulation, I think these are important facts. But even if you do. Did you know that most Americans believe that blacks and whites are more equal today than they truly are on measures of income, wealth, wages, and health benefits? And they believe more historical progress has actually occurred, which suggests that we have a profound misperception and unfounded optimism regarding racial equality. So let me give you an example. Psychologists at Yale ask hundreds of Americans these 2 questions. How would you answer? For every $100 earned by an average white family, how much do you think is earned by an average black family? For every $100 in wealth accumulated by an average white family, how much wealth has the average black family accumulated? According to the Census Bureau's current population study, black families in America earn just $57.30 for every $100 in income earned by white families. And for every $100 in white family wealth, black families hold just $5.04. Not only is there a wealth gap between races in the United States as a whole, the top 10% of households hold about 76% of the nation's wealth. The top 0.1% own about as much of the nation's wealth as the entire bottom 90%. The bottom 60% of households own only about 1% of the nation's wealth. So, in short, the top few own almost everything, while the bulk of our society owns almost nothing. What's frequently overlooked in these disparities is that race is a stronger predictor of wealth than class itself. In the 2017 survey of consumer finances, it indicates that the typical black family had about $17,600 in wealth, which included home equity. In contrast, the typical white family is at about $171,000. This amounts to an absolute racial wealth gap, where the typical black family owns only 10 cents for every dollar owned by the typical white family. In The Color of Money, the author notes that the wealth gap is where the injustices of the past grow imperceptibly in the present. In addition to the wealth gap between African Americans and whites, Caucasians, we know that in general, the middle class has been shrinking since 1970. And this situation has only accelerated in the past 20 years. This problem, this wealth gap, is larger in the US than in any other developed country. And if this trend continues, it's noted that it will be an increasing problem in the US and could lead to even more polarization of our citizens. Some experts point to income inequality as the primary factor leading to the tearing of our social fabric. As Christians, what does this mean for us? Not all of us are among the middle class or upper class. In fact, we hope that our communities of faith represent a wealth diversity. However, we know that this is often not the case. The call to generosity, found both in the Old and New Testament, is a call to care for one another. The widow, the orphan, the immigrant, all of those marginalized in society. It's a call to live with enough, sufficiency, but not more than what we need. When and how will we take a more with less kind of mentality? Living simply so that others can simply live? This is our invitation. And I hope that you, as you work through this lesson, you wrestle with what these questions mean and sit with the discomfort of inequality and how this looks within our communities. I hope that you're able to meet and figure out how to wrestle with this countercultural message. This message of enough. it will require transformation. When social and economic power finds a way to be redistributed, God's kingdom will surely be more reflected here on this earth as it is in heaven. May we continue to work toward this goal. Blessings as you prepare the lesson for this week.